For July the 15th, 2022, we talk about Spider-Man Miles Morales, Elite Dangerous, Thumper, and much more. Welcome to Level 421. My name is Kole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. Back after a week. Took a week for the holiday, which was nice. Kind of weird to celebrate America, but you know, it's how it goes. I got to spend time with family, and that was cool.
Yeah, you hosted, right?
Yeah. So every year, my family comes over for like a backyard bonfire to watch the fireworks. So my town, the fireworks that they do, they fire them off from a position where, like, my backyard, the tree line around it perfectly frames it. So we're kind of like not directly under it to where it would be a nightmare noise wise. But it's still one of the best seats in the house, especially since other seats that are better involve being in a big crowd at the local fair, the pickle festival that is over there. So it's nice because it's a private backyard. So I hosted family over, and it was cool. And then the next weekend went over my grandma on my dad's side. Had a birthday, so I got to see them for the first time in a while. Just things never lined up because of COVID, and it was a nice period of time for hanging out with family.
Mm-hmm. For our international listeners, I want to clarify: a pickle festival is not typically associated with July 4th, or anything really. It's as weird as it sounds.
Yes, I don't understand why. Like this town is not necessarily the actual name of the thing is the Pickle Run, because I think there's like a 5K or a half marathon. I have no idea. Everybody gives a different story for why it is. Other ones that are nearby, like the Bratwurst Festival over in Bucyrus, that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. You know, just the lots of pork farms around there, things like that. Popcorn Festival makes some sense. Grow a lot of corn out here in Ohio. Pickles, I got nothing, man.
They're tasty. What more do you need? You know,
it's fine. Yeah. But what's weird is they're not even like, a lot of pickle vendors there selling different kinds of pickles, So
yeah.
Maybe it's seen as exotic, and that's why they're celebrating it.
Maybe. Oh, it's like it's good.
It started out as a celebration of the obscure baseball variant, and
you mean the obscure tennis variant?
Oh, no, that's not obscure anymore. They come after you with those pickleball courts.
Yeah, they do. I only learned about pickleball because my brother went and played it, and started playing it like a year ago. And I was like, what the hell is that? And he's like, oh, it's like wiffle ball, but it's like tennis, but with a wiffle ball. And I was like, okay. And then a couple of months pass, and then all of a sudden they're like bulldozing orphanages to build pickleball courts.
What the?
It escalated, got a little out of hand.
It's weird that they started there, but that's
Yeah, I mean,
it has that kind of following. I don't understand. I would being snide about it, I would say it's Karen tennis.
I mean, my understanding. So, my brother has some physical disabilities, related to like back problems and things like that. And he used to play a lot of tennis. Like he was a really competitive tennis player in high school, and he's continued playing tennis, with his daughter, stuff like that. And for him, it's like, oh, I can use my tennis mind, but with my current broken body. And the crowd that plays it is usually like older folks, so it's like a real accessible sport for the aging population is the sense that I get.
Yeah, no, that's an accurate assessment.
Yeah.
That sport is so overloaded, though. It's like squash, tennis, badminton. They're all very similar to one another, but they're not quite the same. They require a different racket that you need to buy.
And they're all fighting for literal turf with golf. So, yeah.
Maybe not a coincidence you need a racket for it. Get it?
Yeah. So that's been nice. Nothing too exciting. Gary has COVID. So that's been fun to navigate.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he's doing better.
Well wishes to him.
Yes, well wishes to him. He's doing better than he was. I'm glad he's doing better because we made some jokes in the Abject Sufferings that Will and I recorded. So, so I had some markers on those just in case things went south.
You have a dedicated "if Gary dies" button on your editor now.
We somehow found a way to do regular expressions in audio. That's enough about me. Dennis, how about you? How's your past couple weeks been?
Good. My 4th was a lot of fun. Went to Red, White, and Blue Ash, which is like a big concert here.
Cool.
They had Blessed Union, which has exactly one song that you would recognize, but it's a good song. And another band that I think is in the same camp, but I hadn't heard of their one song.
Vaguely Christian 90s girl pop kind of stuff?
I think that's about right.
Did they change from Blessed Unions of Souls, or are those two completely different things?
I'm now realizing that the person who told me who was playing might have been using like a shorthand nickname.
Yeah, Blessed Union of Souls. I said girl pop, and definitely that's not the thing. I know them because like the year before, I think it was like the summer before I came to college at University of Cincinnati. Like that was the band that they got to play at like the big like welcome students kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the lead singer like grew up in Cincinnati or something. Yeah. So it was a easy get.
I actually did not know they were from Cincinnati.
Neither did I. Yeah. But I remember it being like, it's like, it wasn't who had heard of this band. It was like, this band has not done anything for a while. But yeah.
Yeah. But they played, it was fun. Got the kids out. And it was one of those things where it was like, well, the fireworks are at 10, which is way past their bedtimes. Maybe we'll try to stay out. And then we're like, nah, they're not going to make it. So we'll try to leave early. And then just like the crowds and the traffic was so bad trying to leave early that I wound up pulling into a parking lot just before the fireworks started. Me like, all right, guys, you get to watch fireworks because we're not getting home. So I mean, they were thrilled. Oh yeah. And completely wiped out the next day, but that was a fun experience. We were waiting for the fireworks to start, and someone was setting off like backyard fireworks off to our left. And when the first one of those went off, they lost their shit. Like my kids, they're like, "Oh, look at that! Oh my god, it's so amazing!" I was like, "Oh, you guys, just wait, just wait." So fun to view that through the eyes of a child.
Yeah, nice. How about you, Ben?
I celebrated the 4th by trying to push American culture on other people. I made an apple pie and taught croquet to my former coworkers at Amazon. Oh. That's great.
Wait, croquet?
Yeah, that's American, right?
Maybe
English.
I associate that with like British garden parties. I don't know.
That's fair.
It like hella features in Bridgerton, so.
Okay. I guess my context is this was a set that my grandparents owned, so I always kind of associate it with like 1950s, like Americana type stuff.
We definitely, it's definitely it came over because my grandparents had a croquet set as well. I think like depending on your family's lineage, you either had croquet or you had bocce.
Mm-hmm.
Or steel-tipped lawn darts if you were really hardcore.
Oh,
that set kind of died out because they kept on getting hit by steel-tipped lawn darts.
You mean jarts?
And recalled.
Jarts. Yeah. Oh, we had lawn darts. My dad got a he got a set of them well after they were banned. I must have been like 10
that's
or 11.
That's when they went on sale. Yeah.
Well, no, that's when the price would go up because like it's one of those things. It's one of the only lawn games where cops will tackle you if you play it.
That's a white privilege statement if I ever heard one.
Yes. But no, like I must have been like 10 or 11, so it was like 97 or like 98. Here's the thing: steel tip lawn darts, really satisfying to throw. It's a super fun game to play as long as you do not follow the directions that come in the box, which say that you need to
catch them.
Well, which say tell you okay, it's fine. Go ahead and throw at the target while the other person is standing near it, so they can make sure it went in.
It counts.
Yeah.
The claim on the box said military grade. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
They're just. I think they must have misprinted the manual because they called the darts killing sticks.
And then follow up about your story, Kole, of a bunch of people having a festival. I got invited to go to a fireworks watching with 1,000 people down at one of the parks, but I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, even if COVID wasn't a thing, I don't want to be around that many people. So.
That's a lot of people to be around, even outside, even in non-COVID times. Yeah. That makes sense. Did the people that you made apple pie for and showed croquet, did they enjoy the experience?
Yeah, hallmark of I think any good game is like after showing them and playing through one game, they all wanted to play a second time and got the rules and everything. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Nice. Where were these people from?
One Malaysia, 2 China, 2 India.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
neat. Well, I mean, it sounds like we all had a good couple of weeks, and maybe we played some games. We can find out by doing a regular kind of show. What with the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss. And why don't we get started with the grind? The grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the past period of time or so. Who has something new for me?
I've got 2 new.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and one is mine, one is technically Luke's. So I guess the other catching up thing from the past weeks is my 7-year-old decided to run a lemonade stand at the end of the driveway.
Ooh,
interesting.
And just raked in cash. Like, you guys, it was 50 cents a cup, and people were paying with 5s routinely. Keep the change. So this kid's got a big head. But I was very proud of him. He saved up. He decided what he wanted. We did online research to decide.
Ooh.
And he landed on Captain Toad Treasure Tracker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So this is originally with the Wii U, and then ported over to the Switch, and is a Toad-centric platformer. Has there been a Toad-centric game previously in the Mario series?
You can play as him in Mario 2. That might just be about it. Like never one where you play as the little mushroom toad guys.
Yeah, this is definitely the first time you made the title.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's well deserved. This is when Nintendo was like, trying out Luigi and everything else. So it comes from that era that zeitgeist is in the game of Mario titles. But the shtick of this game is that it is a very dense puzzle platformer. And contrary to almost every other Nintendo game, camera controls are central to it. So every level takes place essentially on a cube, and with lots of different areas and levels and everything, and to be able to see the right places to go or find hidden buttons, you're kind of rotating the camera around the cube to look at it from different angles. Toad can't jump. He moves slowly, can't really do much by way of combat, but I guess he's smart, because you can go through the level and kind of figure out how to get to the star that's in each level by kind of rotating the camera around and kind of solving lots of little puzzles. Yeah. Has anyone played this?
So I played the demo. This is actually a spin-off based off of bonus levels from Super Mario 3D World.
Cool.
So there are a handful of levels, I think it's one for each world, that are based on this conceit. I have always wanted to check out the dedicated title because those are real highlights of Super Mario 3D World to me, just because it is a different kind of let's say like spatial reasoning puzzle than you're used to getting in a Mario game, which is oftentimes more about like quickly reading a space and figuring out how to get through it.
The cube and the rotation, like this really called to mind a Rubik's Cube for me. Like it got way simpler, but it's got that vibe. Not least of which because there are several points in every level where if you, I guess tap on them if you were on the Wii U, or kind of like point and click on them with your Wiimote, or Joy-Con, I guess they're calling these things now, fangled names. Why do they gotta keep changing the name of the whatever? But anyway, so you can click on several different elements of every level, and you can like move around platforms or turn wheels and all this stuff, interact with the level in lots of different ways that kind of compensate for you not being able to jump and climb and do anything. You kind of bring the platforms to you instead of bringing your characters to the platforms. Mm-hmm. You can also click and hold enemies. So like if there's a baddie that's getting in your way, you can tap on them and kind of hold them in place. That really isn't necessary. Mm-hmm. It's kind of more just like a nice extra. And in fact, some puzzles feel like they center around kind of getting the baddie to come to you. So there's some baiting of enemies that happens as well.
Are they lethal to you at all, or are they just like obstacles? Yep.
Okay, one hit kills, baby. No, actually, I think there are mushrooms in the game, so you can change from big toad to small toad.
Well, that's bullish.
I don't think though that it changes your ability to traverse the level in any meaningful way.
Toad's a cannibal.
Yeah. This is a level I had not considered, but yes,
I can't sign off on this. I can't sanction.
Yeah, I just realized that when my kids become a cannibal later in life, we'll be able to go to the therapist and tell them why. But no, so this is a nice different change of pace, and it's something that I think. I was just thinking about the way that people kind of onboard to games and how camera controls are like kind of a big stepping stone. And like if I were putting together a games curriculum, this fills a really interesting niche where, moving the camera is a very central part of it, but everything else is low enough key that it feels like a great training tool for that. And I've watched my kids kind of follow that learning arc as well. So, merely from that perspective, I've enjoyed the game. Yeah. But it's also very clever in just all the different ways you can, for not being able to jump or climb ledges, you can very creatively get around the levels and open up new areas, which is a lot of fun. Every level has a star that you have to get to finish the level, and then there are 3 diamonds that are optional and kind of harder to get. And then once you've beaten it, you can go back and beat it, satisfying a specific bonus objective, which might be like, kill all enemies or what have you. Toad can throw turnips a la Mario 2.
Oh, nice.
But that's and if you can rig it so that he's above a ledge and can fall onto an enemy, he can technically jump on them. So I guess he's got that going for him. But so a bonus objective might be finish the level by, while killing all enemies or, any one of a number of things, do it without moving a certain part of the level, which is really interesting. Okay, well, this seems like it's central to the puzzle and how I get around. How do I finish the level without using it? And that's, takes a lot of creativity. Yeah. And then there's also a little hidden object game where once you beat it the first time, they will plant a little pixelated Toad sticker somewhere on the level. And if you're standing close to it, you'll start to get like a little audio cue. It will call to you. But you can just go back in the level and you don't even really have to move your Toad around. You just kind of rotate the camera looking for it, and then click on it versus needing the character to be near it to find it. So lots and lots of fun stuff. And then halfway through the game, or I think it's halfway, they haven't finished yet, but you switch over from playing as Toad to playing as Toadette, and the adventure continues.
Nice.
I want to back up and ask one question here. Mm-hmm. Luke was the one who chose to get this game, right? You didn't force him to sell lemonade to buy this game for you, right?
I plead the fifth.
All right.
Go all General Flynn up in here.
So you can't be it can't be a General Flynn if you've said any other words than fifth.
Yeah, fifth. No, that's me at a party, man. Fifth. There's a rap in there. Luke, the only influencing I did was I was like, what game do you like the most out of what we have right now? I think he said Super Mario Odyssey. And so I said, well, let's Google games like Super Mario Odyssey. And pulled right up.
Nice.
What to play if you enjoyed Super Mario Odyssey. And there was like a list of 7 or 8 titles on there. Many of which we already owned, which is, that's the curse of the Nintendo platform, is it's like, 80% of the experience is the same 5 character games.
Right.
But yeah, it was a good find. I don't think we would have sought it out otherwise. So kudos to Luke for broadening all of our horizons.
Yeah.
So how's he doing with the game too?
Oh, he and Milo have played it exclusively. I've only watched.
Oh, okay.
And I've given very little guidance. And to the point of where, like, I'll put something on my computer monitor while they play it up on the TV and just kind of have it as background noise.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting pretty competent.
Nice.
And we're getting close to the age where they're going to be able to beat me in versus games, and so I must find a way to crush their spirits before that happens.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So that's Captain Toad Treasure Tracker.
Nice.
Can I make a brief tangent?
You may.
Please do.
I had a realization over the weekend because I was talking with someone who's only 4 years older than me, and we realized that there's this like narrow window of like this like childhood nostalgia of like what games really hit you. And like for me, it was like the N64, but for him, it was like the Super NES. And by the time like N64 came out, like he was in high school and was just kind of over it. And then for people under us, like GameCube was the thing, and that was really huge. Whereas like N64 is more like archaic. So, but I feel like your boys are approaching that window where they're gonna play the games that are like really meaningful to them.
Yeah. Switch will definitely be their console generation.
Yeah.
We'll see how that stands up to the test of time. I think it's going to go down in history as a pretty venerable console.
Yeah. It's real successful, even if like this, a lot of its good games were on the Wii U originally.
Yeah. It's basically 2 consoles in one. Yeah.
It is a bit of a mulligan with the Wii U. So what can you do? So that's one game I've been playing. The other new game I've been playing is called Chorus, and it's on Game Pass.
Oh, you mean Chorves?
Chorves?
Yeah, Chorves.
It's the point of language is communication. I understood Chorus when I saw it. But,
okay, all right.
I assume it's Chorus 5 because of the way they did the font there.
Yes.
Yes, this is the 5th game in the series. But it is a space dogfighting game. And it has that starship combat that reminded me of Squadrons, which is what got me to try the game in the first place.
Nice.
Because ever since I played Squadrons in VR, I've kind of had that itch and been like, that feels really good to zip around in a spacecraft.
It used to be one of the main kinds of games there were.
Really? Yeah, it kind of fell out of favor, but man, Chorus does a good job bringing it back. And man, do they try to torpedo a really, really strong core game.
Oh no, how do they do that?
Just terrible UI and surrounding systems. So yeah, the story of the game is that you are like an ex-cult member. In fact, you were like their main Inquisitor fighter pilot person who actually got wound up being at the spearhead of destroying a planet. And I don't know why it's always destroying a planet with sci-fi. That's like the apex of evilness.
Yeah.
That seems to be a motif. But that woke you up in some ways, caused you to realize that, you wanted out, you fled, you hid your spaceship and assumed life kind of hidden among a random mining colony while your cult continued to grow and take over the galaxy. So, they reach your corner of the galaxy and you kind of have to jump back into action to try to stop them. The cool thing that it does is it kind of combines sci-fi technology with, your special thing as a cult member is you have these magic rights. And so, it has you teleporting around, not because you have some sort of teleportation unit, but because magic. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to see them kind of blending those two things, which, effectively what's the saying? What's the difference between sci-fi and fantasy? Rivets?
Sufficiently advanced magic, something like that.
Yeah, that whole thing. So that's kind of a fun casing to put really, really polished combat into.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing that makes it stand out is that you can engage what's called the drift trance. And for any of these powers, there's no reason that it needs to be magic instead of technology, except because it's cool.
Style points.
Yeah. So when you enter your drift trance, your ship continues on the trajectory it was going, but you can rotate very quickly to face any direction.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And so, the biggest qualm with other flight sim dogfighting games, I've played Ace Combat, Squadrons, I mentioned, is you get that point where like you pass what you're doing a strafing run at, and then there's probably 5 seconds of you just looping around to make another path, and it's really just dead time most of the time. This just cuts that off. Cuts it right off, because you just drift, slide around in an instant, and you're back and ready to go. And it's got that super satisfying punch where, you're drifting and turning, and the second you let go of drift, you feel this like boost of acceleration as your main engine kicks back on and heads towards where you want to go. So they absolutely nailed that feel of turning. Like what the shotgun was to Halo, the drift trance is to Chorus.
Yeah. Like this move, that was in Squadrons, but it was only for certain craft that could do it, like A-Wing and TIE Interceptor were the best ones at doing it. But also it was fucking impossible to make happen.
Yes, it was very finicky.
Yeah, it was, infamously so, with the one mission that like required you to do it before the mission could go. And like, it was, for me, a half an hour of reconfiguring my flight stick to try and get the buttons to a place where it would recognize it.
Yeah, it was appalling, and I don't know how it got through QA.
No.
And it also, I think that makes all the difference, right? Because that is kind of this cool trick that you can pull off after, hours of maddening figuring it out. The drift trance just works, and that's exactly what you want it to be.
They designed the game around it, as opposed to it being an accident of the physics that they decided to throw in.
It's not a bug, it's a feature. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And so that makes you feel like a badass. And then the other difference from Squadrons is where that was set up very much as a multiplayer experience, and so you're more evenly matched with your opponents. In this one, you are very much the big bad, right? Like you are what the enemy has nightmares about. And so just hunting people and churning through them and feeling like a badass is very much central to this game. So that's excellent. The other right that you get fairly early on is, I mentioned teleportation. And so if being able to drift into position wasn't fast enough, you can also, if you have enough energy, tap a button and teleport onto the 6 of whatever enemy you see.
Oh, wow.
Which just like, you thought you felt like a badass drifting. This is even more, especially once you get your weapons to a point where you can one-shot kill some of the weaker enemies. And just like, this is a you're dead button. Like, I hit that and just time the trigger pull to right when you reappear out of teleportation. And you fly through the explosion that you caused. It is excellent. So that works really well. Weapons wise, there's your standard Gatling gun. There's like a laser that's good at removing shields, and missiles that's good at taking out armor. So it's got that kind of rock, paper, scissors to it, but nothing too fancy. It's nice that as you are using one weapon, your other two are recharging. And so there's a nice incentive to kind of cycle through or kind of swap around, which just contributes to feeling badass, right? Because you teleport behind someone, use your laser to melt off their shields. If they're weak enough, you kill them in one hit, and then switch over to Gatling gun to zap them, and then turn and switch to your missiles to attack the next target. It feels really good. So the game here is amazing.
I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, here it comes. So the UI in this game is just incredibly frustrating, and specifically around save hygiene.
What?
And it's so bad and so broken that I don't understand like who thought it was a good idea to structure it this way. The game is technically open world. So, you're basically in a giant asteroid belt and can fly around and take missions, for whatever you pass. But you're not allowed to save during a mission.
Okay.
And these missions are made up of like multiple objectives and multiple areas you need to go to. And if you want to save before you finished it, missions that sometimes take like a solid half hour to get through, you need to abort the mission so you can save. That is if the abort mission option is available in the menu, which there is some arcane science. I need the abort mission right, because sometimes you open it up and it's there. Sometimes you're in a mission and it's just like, nope, you don't even think about stopping now. So yeah, just forehead smackingly frustrating from the beginning.
Are there in-game? Are there in-mission checkpoints? Like if you die 2 minutes before you finish the mission, does it take you all the way back to the beginning?
There are checkpoints, but they are not telegraphed at all. There's no like saving game icon. There's no indication of like it's safe to quit. And I have played a mission for no joke 15 minutes and had to start over at the beginning of it because I didn't save. And I'm playing on xCloud, left long enough that it kicked me off. And I've also had, checkpoints where it's like I've gotten that far into a mission and it's had me, right where I left off. So there are checkpoints in. Good luck knowing exactly where they are. So you just kind of, if you can't get to the save button, which you probably aren't able to, like the majority of the time you're in a mission, that's what you're doing in the game. It is just, baffling. You just got to cross your fingers and hope that your progress was autosaved in some way. So that is maddening. The other thing the game does very poorly is dialogue. They love to hear themselves talk. There's no real way to skip it. And it's also, because you're flying from place to place, I'm fine. If I'm traveling to point A to point B, talk my ear off, that's great. But they will have an entire scene of dialogue without an objective marker, and then you get the objective marker at the end of the dialogue.
Oh no.
And, so there's no reason. Yeah.
You could be flying in exactly the wrong direction while this is going.
Yes, you literally have to just pull yourself to a halt and wait and be like, all right,
what a terrible use of your time.
Yeah. So yeah, but that's a good way to say it, is like between that and the saving, it just feels like it assumes that you have nothing better to do than play Chorus 24/7.
For a game that's on Game Pass, that takes some balls.
Yeah.
When it's literally as possible for you to play hundreds of other games at basically the press of a button.
You know the setting, dog. Respect my time. Which again, I've had so much fun playing the game when the game will let me play the freaking game.
I mean, it sounds great.
Yeah, it's feel wise, it is one of the best kind of space combat or even like flight combat games that I've played. So kudos to the people doing the game design, and please bring the people that do the UI stuff up to your level.
Yeah. I mean, it's the ideal thing. Sorry to stumble over my words there. The ideal thing would be like they accomplish the hard part, right? Which is designing a game that feels good. UI and UX are not necessarily easy things to get right. It seems like that is an easier thing to fix than like going in and making the game good afterward.
Yeah, and I'll add to that the principles for making UI good are fairly universal. Like, making this flight sim feel good is a unique challenge to that game. Being able to save when you want is a universal truth for games.
Yes.
So yeah, it feels like not that it's easy to do, but it is a problem that's solved.
Yeah.
And they did not respect that.
Ugh.
Yeah. But yeah, it still falls in the recommend column. Like I said, the feel of it is great. If you want to be a space badass, Chorus is your game.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's what I've been playing.
Oh, very cool. Chorves. So I'm sorry that is all that I see. But like, I understand they're doing the like Latinate spelling, like you see the V standing in for the U on like courthouses and stuff. It's just funny. Chorves is a funny word to say. Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I got two ones, one new and one that I talked about last time. So I finished up Before Your Eyes, which I talked about on last episode.
Cool.
That's the one where you have a webcam on and it's looking at your face. And every time you blink during certain parts of the game, it'll advance scenes of the timeline that you're living in.
Mm-hmm.
It's a highly narrative game. There's like a few different mechanics in it as far as like messing around with you looking at things and blinking in certain ways to interact with them. But by and large, that's the main mechanic of it. It's just staring contest with a video game to see more content. But yeah, so I finished it out. The narrative's a little wonky. I won't really talk about it in too many details in case anyone wants to play it. I don't want to spoil anything. I'll just say vaguely that the game gives you an opportunity to see more parts of it without having to play it again, like from the start. So that is somewhat appreciated, although, but then at the same time, it also like made the narrative a little bit more confusing. So I wasn't sure why they were trying to do that. But yeah, so overall, it's okay. I would think of it as a game of like a pretty cool tech demo for something.
Yeah.
If you're really into narratives of games or like playing things that have like that are more narrative driven, then maybe this would be the game for you. Otherwise, if you just want to see a game that has a unique mechanic, this would be a game that's worth it. If it's like on sale for $5 or something like that, you could pick it up. I think it's only about like maybe 4 hours of playtime or so. It's not too long. Yeah. Anyway, mediocre, not bad, not terrible or anything. It's decent, but it's not going to blow you away or anything. But yeah.
So I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Related to what you just said. When you say something is mediocre, how damning is that? Because while I know like dictionary definition means it's just kind of so, in my mind it is equivalent to saying it's a piece of shit.
No, I don't mean it like that. Like I'm there's not anything like egregiously bad with it or anything. It's just that it's just not, it wasn't impactful, I guess, for me.
Yeah.
But it's not to say like, I don't know, when I think of a bad game, I think of it as something where it's like the story is like actively bad, like it does not make, and it's not internally consistent, or or like there's like very like, I don't know, jarring game design decisions in it where it's like, well, I would not have done that at all. I'm not sure why we do this. There's nothing like that in this game. It's just that it's just okay. You know, it didn't, I don't think it was made for me specifically. It doesn't, hit me at any like sort of emotional nerve. But I could see it being better for other people.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to unpack that. For some reason, mediocre in my mind means it's crap, but I think you're too fragile for me to tell you that.
Well, the kids these days do use the term mid to mean something's not that great. So maybe it's in the same parlance, I guess.
I can't hear something called mid without seeing without reading into it the let's say the derision of youth. Mediocre to me, like, it's not a word that I use very often. It is less than middling, because when I call something mediocre, I'm trying to say that it is unremarkable, just like, oh, this doesn't really achieve, while also being like no one part of it is enough for me to say like, oh wow, yeah, this thing is actively making it terrible. If I'm trying to say something is middling, like there are things to recommend it, but it is compromised in some way, I usually just say, oh, it's fine.
Yeah, that feels more right. Yeah, it feels like mediocre means it failed to even produce a negative response in me.
Yeah. And I do feel like that description lines with how I feel about the game. I think this game was made for people to have an emotional response, but for me, it's I don't emote for things like this. So like, yes. But that's not to say that other people wouldn't find this to be like very like heartwarming or emotionally impactful. So yeah.
What else you got?
Other one I got is I played Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Shit. Oh, sweet. Yeah.
The expansion / DLC / standalone game of Spider-Man.
Marvel's Spider-Man 1.5.
Pretty much, yeah. Mixed bag with this game. The game was fun to play. I beat it. I enjoyed it. The impressive part about it is they made like a brand new game pretty quickly off the heels of Spider-Man, which kind of indicates that they probably did a really good job coding the original game, that they can like rapidly make content and make like a complete second game like that soon after the first one.
Yeah.
This one is focused on Miles Morales. He was established in the original Spider-Man game, and I think you play as him a couple of times. He's kind of more of a side character in the original game, but in this one, he is the main character. You are playing as him, and they retcon Peter Parker to be younger. He's, instead of him being like a Tobey Maguire, he's more of like a Andrew Garfield, I guess, maybe like closest, or maybe the most recent version. He's more closer to that. In the narrative of the game, the premise is he's like away out of the country on vacation, and so Miles Morales has like a week or two to himself to protect the city by himself, kind of, learn things on his own. I feel like it's a common sort of narrative device or whatever, but it works here. It's fine.
Only in Spider-Man, which is like at its best when it's telling stories about Peter Parker, being poor and being overstretched, is I need a vacation, an actual like setup for a meaningful plot.
Yeah, I guess that happened in a few of the movies, right? Or Yeah, and well, I mean, I guess it makes sense with his character too, right? If he's so based on web traversal that if he is across the seas, he's not going to get home anytime soon. So.
Yeah, he's not the Vision. Yeah,
can't swing across that ocean too easily. So, which is actually kind of comical in itself. Like, all right, I'll be back, but I got to catch a flight, so I'll be there in like 10 hours.
But literally catch a flight. He's going to hit it as it takes off and just swing behind it for 8 hours.
But anyway, so the game focused on Miles Morales. I haven't read any of the comics for his story, but I have seen the animated movie, Into the Spider-Verse, which is a great movie. Love it to death. So that's kind of my only context into the narrative, I guess. But it holds somewhat true to that. Like he has like a sidekick called, I think it's Genki is his name. It's the same roommate that he has in the animated movie. He has a mom. And this one, she's running for political office, which I don't think was established in the movie. And then narratively, spoiler alert from Spider-Man, the original game, his father dies in the video game narrative in the game. Yeah. And that's kind of like an establishing detail of his character. And that was not the case in the movies. So those are the only kind of differences that I noticed coming into it. I guess, and the narrative in general is just kind of focused on him. There's a energy company that's like the big evil company, and that they kind of supply these like armored thugs to beat up around the city. They have a really good tagline that I can't remember. It's called like "We're here for you." Yeah, that's it. Which has both "We're here for you," which has both a nice, friendly interpretation and also very sinister, like unnerving interpretation.
We're here for you, and we're here for you.
Yeah,
we're here for you.
So that's like the main evil empire, but then there's also like another gang of like anarchists, and they kind of fight one another, but they both have their thugs that are randomly placed around the city. The game plays pretty similar to how the original Spider-Man game plays. There's 16 narrative missions, like main storyline missions that are kind of bespoke that you play. And that's kind of what advances the narrative. And they might vary from like 5 to 10 minutes to like half an hour to 45 minutes, maybe, in length, depending upon what it is. And then there's like a slew of different events around the city that you can go do if you want to, but you can completely ignore them if you want. They have an upgrade system like the previous one did. That's kind of irrelevant, but it's there. Yeah. It's similar to like the Batman level up system, where it's like, I have like a mess of these like moves I can unlock, and I don't really care about many of them. But
right, and they end up being mostly combo extenders more than anything, or keys for enemies that represent particular kinds of locks. Like this one, this is what you press to do to get rid of armored enemies, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this one, they add a little bit to the mechanics for Miles Morales. Like he has like these superpowers that they touch on in the animated movie, and I assume he has in the comic books, where they call them Venom powers, but it's like it's kind of all over the place. He has the power to go invisible, but then he also has the power to absorb electricity and then discharge it, and then I don't know, punch people with like an electric punch sort of thing. It's just kind of like yellow superpower, hand wavy, like you can do this sort of thing. The invisibility is good because that adds to the stealth sections of the game. They had this in the original Spider-Man. There are a few stealth sections where you take down people. And like now it's pretty full on like Batman, the way the Predator sections of the game were. And I mean that in a complimentary way where it's pretty enjoyable. And they have it so that it's pretty easy to dip in and out of stealth if you want to. Like you can go fight people. And if you get in over your head and you can't handle it, you can just press the up on the D-pad and you turn invisible. You can hop away. I'm not sure if they had this in the original game or not, but if you press both triggers, you basically web zip to any ledge that you're looking at.
Yes. That was in the first one.
Yeah. So like that's like very, very nice ease of use there. So it's like very easy to like jump up to any given structure, whether it's like, a wire or like a pillar or wall or something like that. So the game feels really good. Like the core mechanics of it feel really good. Mm-hmm. They've just done a little bit to add mechanically to it. And then they still have the like shit ton of suits that you can choose to wear while you're playing the game. And that's pretty enjoyable. Especially in that they respect the suit during like the cutscenes and stuff. Even
that's
if like,
that's nice.
Some of the suits will have like glowing coming out of your eyes or whatever. And the reflection like on another character in the cutscene will be like, the light will shine on them. Like it's not like a cheat, you know what I mean? So like, it's like there's one costume that has green glowing eyes. And so in a cutscene, even though it's like a red environment or something, you have a green light shining on this other character who's talking to Spider-Man. So I was pretty impressed by that. Like that was like a nice touch. And all-time favorite suits, they do have an animated Spider-Man suit in there. And the animation style, they do like slightly less frames for it, so it feels more animated. So
that's
it looks
cool.
Really, yeah, it looks pretty cool. So yeah, it's a very nice 1.5 type game. I would say play Spider-Man before you play this one, maybe if you're looking for a more full experience. I would say that this game was maybe about 5 to 10 hours, maybe. Which is fine. I think the original Spider-Man is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 20 to 30 hours, maybe something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, both games are good. I certainly enjoyed playing this, especially since it had been a while since I played the original one. Probably would have different feelings if I played it back to back. I might not be as into it.
It might be a little bit too much. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though they added some mechanics, by and large, this is a very similar experience to the original Spider-Man game. But I mean that in a compliment in this case because that was a very fun game. So I think that's about it. I think that's all I wanted to say about the game. There's not really too much. I'm not going to speak to the end game or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So
I'm just real excited because that team, Insomniac, is making a Wolverine game, and that they are, and that sounds like it's going to be cool.
Yeah, it's coming out in the next like year or two, maybe, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to see what the core mechanic of that game is, because like so much of the fun of Spider-Man is just
getting around
on the web.
Yeah,
and that's very bespoke to the Spider-Man.
Weirdly enough, he's going to get webs.
Yes, yeah, Wolverine. Yeah,
Wolverine, Miles Morales. What?
Nice. Did you say you had another one, or is that it?
Those are the two that I got.
Those are the two. So I only have one. I have continued playing the Quarry, but that doesn't warrant talking about. I feel like we've already covered the basics of that so much. And everything that I would have to say would be story spoiler stuff at this point. I've been streaming it, and that has been a very fun way to play it. Mm-hmm. Primarily because the chat has been very good about not backseating. not that they have a habit of backseating, but it's a little bit of a concern when you play something like that is so dependent on making choices with incomplete information that somebody's like, oh, you really don't want to go that way. It's like, but I kind of do now, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I would say check out the Quarry if you can, because it's neat, but I can't go into real details on it.
Here's something that's not 100% spoilery. How many people have died for you so far?
1.
Okay. Did you feel bad about that?
I did.
All right. How many others are you like willing to let go before the end of the game?
I don't know. could come what may, because like there are deaths that come from making bad decisions, and there are deaths that come from failing a QTE that was made harder by having made bad decisions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The person that I lost, I feel like I didn't set myself up for success, and maybe I would have had one or two failures in addition. That would not have, that would have been a bit of a buffer. Yeah.
Okay. And then are there any characters that you like really want to make it to the end that you really care about right now?
I hope Caitlin makes it. I like Caitlin quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. But we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
So that's the Quarry. I'd recommend coming to watch me stream it. I'm at the tail end of it, so Friday and Saturday nights, 8 p.m. over at the Duckfeed Twitch channel. Welcome, David. Welcome.
Hey.
Yeah.
I escaped. You locked me in the closet, but I managed to get out. I'm back.
Well, it won't stop me from trying again later on. It's a fun game we have.
Virtual hostage. Yep.
Yeah, virtual. Let's go with that way. Yeah.
I feel like our lawyers tell us to go with that one.
Yeah. Legally. Anything you've been up to over the past week?
Honestly, not a whole lot. Doing some more spring cleaning. That's about it.
Nice.
And escaping from closets.
Well,
he was spring cleaning that specific closet, which I appreciate.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a trap that only works once a year.
Yes.
It's ironic, but
I'm going to continue. So the other thing I've been playing, because I've been putting so much time into assignment play, I decided to get VR back out. Just because it's easy to forget to play it. When it's just sitting over there on the bookshelf like it is. And I've been playing a fun rhythm game called Thumper. Has anybody played Thumper?
No, but that is a evocative name.
Yeah.
I played the demo.
Yes, it has nothing to do with the rabbit from the Disney cartoon. This is so it's billed as a rhythm horror game. That doesn't make sense to me because there's nothing outright scary about it. It's more overwhelming than it is terrifying. And there is not enough of a coherent narrative or like even just like actual mapping onto real reality that would make it relatable as a horror thing. So I think that might just be a label of convenience because it's not a pleasant game. This also doesn't have to be in VR. It's not a first person game. You are playing in third person. You're looking kind of over top of your character, which for really no reason at all is rendered as this metallic beetle like creature. It's like an abstract roller coaster that you're on, kind of. Yes, you are racing at breakneck speed. I mean, incredibly fast speeds down what is a gigantic rail that is winding and blasting through kind of really surreal, psychedelic cosmoscapes. Let's say, and as you kind of blast down this rail, you are, proceeding toward kind of these fractal creature designs that are also kind of acting like portals at the very end of it, sending blasts of energy at you that you need to time your button presses to absorb and then send back. So good.
I think you've described 90% of rhythm games.
So, I mean, yes, it is stuff coming down a track, but it is coming at it in a kind of different style to it. And you're not just pressing the buttons to, hit the marks that are coming along. You are also trying to stay on the rail, which isn't so much of a like a balancing thing. It's not like an F-Zero track. It kind of works in to be part of the rhythm track. So you're pressing those buttons to hit the pulses of energy, but you are also turning against these walls that are popping up when the track turns too sharply. and you are jumping to avoid little hazards over this. So it's kind of layering all of these different input methods in as you are kind of blasting toward whatever fractal nightmare is at the end of the track.
Does it ramp you into those mechanics, or are they all kind of present and they just get more intricately woven together over time?
It's actually really neat. I think that the first 2 levels do a really good job of ramping you up into it. Just because, like, the way that the musical track is designed. So the music is kind of a, let's say, industrial electronic. Nothing really seems to map to a particular instrument other than like maybe some like really heavily kind of processed synthesizers, kind of, made to sound acoustic or noisy as it goes. But like there are certain audio cues that presage what is going to be coming at you. So like when when they're introducing the little energy claps, what you will hear is almost like a clap in the rhythm that's going to come down that corresponds to the enemy at the end shooting those toward you. And then everything else kind of gets its own little cue. So like it does a very good job of introducing you to those audio cues and then obscuring them in the rest of the track as the music builds up. Another thing that is true about it is, and this isn't highlighted, but you start to notice it around the time it goes from like a 4/4 to a 3/4 into 7/5, stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, it starts getting real weird with time signatures, which is not something that this kind of rhythm game does very often, and especially time signature change-ups as it goes, which is pretty neat.
Those are hard enough to get through when you're anticipating them.
Yes. Yeah. It should also be said that the music track doesn't change. Like this is not a procedurally generated kind of thing. So like you're kind of learning these tracks as you go, which makes this less replayable because it's not necessarily like the kind of music that you want to like feel like you are playing. Like I know how the the song, let's say Freebird goes, just to pull an example from like a rock band or a Guitar Hero, there is like a sense of accomplishment because you are learning to play this recognizable song. These are not songs you would know from anywhere. So like there's no replayability on there. The replayability would just be like you're trying to master and S rank all of the sections of a particular level.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying the game is 2 on rails?
I mean, quite literally. To say 2 on rails would be a little weird because it would be like me holding the kind of game that it is against it, which is not necessarily my preferred type of analysis. It's like playing Halo and saying, I see the gun in the hands, but where's the rest of the guy? Yeah. So this is a game that anybody can play. Like it does not necessarily need to be in VR. I first played it in VR, so it's kind of weird to imagine playing it on a flat screen. But if you don't know anything else, there may be like a lot to enjoy it here. I think that like mechanically the VR is not necessarily incredibly additive. That said, it does turn it into an all-encompassing terrorscape, which is nice. It does. It does really like hit you real hard with the sensory overload, which is a neat thing in doses.
Oh, so I mean, maybe that's where the horror is.
Yeah, definitely. It's just it's weird because if I say horror rhythm game, it kind of makes it sound like there's a slasher going around and you're timing like running and evading slashes and chainsaw swipes. To a rhythm track, which might be cool. That may be a cool game idea. That's not what this is.
Quick, let's trademark Five Nights at Freddy Mercury's.
Oh, wow! I didn't even realize I was setting anybody up for an alley-oop. That was good, Ben.
Excellent. Yeah, it's interesting because I like I said, I played the demo of this, and in VR, it sells the fantasy of like, oh, I'm hurtling at impossible speeds to this incomprehensible cosmic horror. Like that sounds really good on paper, but even at its best, it's still very comprehensible.
Yes.
So it's like, the idea of what it's trying to do, it makes sense, but by definition, you can't execute it because, nothing that you can put on the screen, especially using a PSVR, is going to overwhelm the senses to the point of truly delivering on the promise.
Yeah. And the ways that it does get more difficult, or the ways that it does get more overwhelming, is not so much in the sensory. It is more in the hey, this is a lot to process and manage, for one set of eyes and ears.
I mean, you can always go with the Lovecraft approach, let's add some racism.
There's no racism that I can tell, unless you are racist against fractals. Yeah. The only fractal that I am that I'm prejudiced against is broccoli, but that's because I don't know how to cook it.
Well,
snow. I'm opposed to snow.
So yeah, that's Thumper. A nice VR experience just to put on and play for about 10-15 minutes, which is like a good amount of time to play VR.
Very cool.
Yeah. Any questions about Thumper?
I don't think so. Do you think you would have liked it more if it wasn't just a black beetle at the center of things?
I don't know. I think that the beetle is it's fine. Which is to say, like, yes, it is unremarkable, but it conveys visually what needs to be conveyed. The jumping and the kind of like hovering, seeing his wings flap. It's really easy to see because of the kind of the bullet shape to it. Like which way it's leaning when it turns, so you can kind of tell what's necessary for the maneuvers. I think anything more complex, you would lose some of that readability. And regardless, you're not necessarily spending a lot of time looking at the beetle. Even in VR, it's more in your periphery. You are really attuned to what is coming down the rail because it moves very, very quickly.
Fair enough.
Yes. David, what have you been playing?
So at a listener suggestion, I've been playing Elite Dangerous.
Oh, cool.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
Yeah, so Elite Dangerous is, I guess you could describe it as Eve with gameplay. So it's a spaceship simulator where you're, flying around a accurate scale depiction of the entire Milky Way.
Wow.
So they took star charts and stuff like that, and as I understand it, all of the stars are in their accurate relationship to each other within space, and likewise my understanding is more or less the various stars and solar systems that we know what's there are accurately depicted. So there's various nebula and I don't know, star systems and stuff like that.
Have they already announced the DLC based on the images from the Webb telescope?
Yeah, I was actually wondering that when I saw that today. I don't know how they handle new advances. I'm not sure. But yeah, the moment-to-moment gameplay is kind of the big archetypes you can do are combat, trading, mining, and exploration.
Okay. So all I heard was trading, and trading.
Well, no, I mean, I guess with exploration, you're trading knowledge, right?
Time for knowledge. Yeah.
It kind of does the No Man's Sky thing of if you're the first person to discover a planet or to map it or whatever, your name gets put on it whenever anyone else sees it.
Now, to be fair, this game came out before No Man's Sky, right?
Right. Yes.
That's impressive.
Yes. Considering there's billions of stars in the Milky Way, there is plenty to navigate.
Yeah.
How do you quickly traversal? Is that similar to No Man's Sky as well? Are there like ports?
Yeah, I guess so. You basically have your normal engines, normal just kind of navigating around, actually flying. Then you have what they call super cruise, which is goes from like hundreds of kilometers per second to like several to dozens of I guess speeds of light per second. I guess dozens of times the speed of light.
Mm-hmm.
And
multiples of C.
Yes, exactly. And that's pretty much how you get from planet to planet, because within a solar system, because unlike No Man's Sky, it depicts the distances you're covering much more realistically. So, generally speaking, by, when you're leaving the atmosphere of one planet, you basically, at most, the other planets are just faint dots that you can see.
It would take months of real time to get to any of them.
Right, exactly. I think one of the and then the last thing is to go to a different solar system. You have basically a warp drive. I think they call it hyperdrive. Mm-hmm. The one interesting thing is the Super Cruise is interesting in that it speeds up, over time to a very significant degree. And also it slows down the closer you are to the gravity well of a planet.
Okay.
But if you can find a place where you're not, near any planets for an extended period of time, it can, reaching maximum speed takes, I don't know, I'd have to look, something like at least an hour.
Oh. Huh.
And like tops out at like, I don't know, like 1,000 or 2,000 times the speed of light.
Okay.
So you can actually get to the next, solar system, or where the next solar system would be without warping. However, apparently the limitations of the system, there's a marker there, and to actually get to the next one, you have to engage warp.
Oh, so that's a warp is a load screen almost.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. It's very, I guess I'd say realistic, and I guess in some ways, I think Mind is saying it is very realistic in that it's modeling a lot of the physics. You can run into problems where extremely massive planets, it can be difficult to land upon them because they have so much gravity that even just a minute amount of acceleration or not acceleration on your ship's part will slam you into them, things like that.
It's hard sci-fi,
right? But more than that, it's realistic in that very few things are automated.
Okay.
Or I guess you can get ship's computers to handle things like landing and automatically basically doing cruise control to another planet or whatever. However, those use up slots that you could otherwise use for other systems, so you're encouraged to basically learn to do them on your own.
Okay.
And so there's a big premium placed on just kind of learning the system. So, for example, when you're trying to use Super Cruise to navigate to another, space station, the rule of thumb is you go as fast as you can until you have 7 seconds to reach it.
Okay.
And then you cut your engines to 75%. And that combined with the fact that the closer you get to something with a lot of gravity, the slower you go, is basically the sweet spot that you're making progress at the same rate as which you're slowing down, such that it'll just sit at 7 seconds to go until you're almost there.
Oh, okay.
And that's how you that's kind of how you know you're coming in with the right velocity, because it is very easy when you're going at multiple times the speed of light to just blaze past whatever you're trying to get to.
I'm sure. Yeah. So this is kind of like figuring out how to brake by downshifting if you're driving manual.
Right. Exactly. Similarly, when you're trying to land on a planet, it's, a multi-step process where, first you use your, FTL to, basically reach the planet's atmosphere, reach orbit. Then you brake orbit and glide until you're, say 100 kilometers from your destination. And then you brake the glide and, actually navigate in. So pretty much everything you're doing, it's very much, learning how to do it.
Yeah. But what if you want to come out of hyperspace inside the shield?
So that is probably the least realistic thing in the game, in that if you simply at, multiple times the speed of light, or at least hundreds of kilometers per second, go to slam into a planet several hundred feet or several hundred miles above the planet, your light speed will just dead stop you and, basically engage your emergency stop, which is a nice feature, but they kind of hand wave the fact that you don't get liquefied from going to like the speed of light to 0 in a fraction of a second.
Huh. Yeah. Okay, so bear with me here. I've had this happen to me. I was driving my in-laws' car because they had our van, so we'd like swap cars for a little bit, and they have one of those like automatic braking protections thing. Mm-hmm. And I was pulling up to a stop sign. There's a car turning left, like across me. Like I saw them, they saw me. We were not going very fast, but for some reason, the automatic braking decided that it didn't like what was going on. I got full on slammed to a stop. So, if that had me out of sorts for the rest of the day, I can only imagine what stopping at light speed is.
Yeah. Right. Well, and on a similar thing, like I said, the game doesn't exactly want you to use the autopilots. And so I have had autopilots run me into a planet because the space station I was trying to get to was on the other side of the planet. And also, the one I use a fair amount is the auto docking, particularly when I'm doing just kind of the long haul trucking type stuff. It's just not worth it to, do it manually. But it will every so often just get like stuck on part of the space station and crash you.
That doesn't sound ideal.
No. So yeah, there's lots of shenanigans. My understanding is there's a very high skill ceiling. So the default way to navigate is basically your ship kind of, I guess, automatically manages your thrusters in order to make flying your craft feel like an airplane.
Okay. So,
if you think about it, in the vacuum of space without any friction, if you, turn, if you don't engage thrust in the other direction, you'll just spin indefinitely.
Right.
So the your ship computer will basically make it so that that won't happen, so that you'll normalize in effect.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
However, you can turn that off. And my understanding is a lot of the high-end combat PvP type stuff is engage in maneuvers where, like, you know, you go blazing past someone and then turn in place so that you're now moving backwards, facing at them while firing.
You enter the drift trance.
Yeah, so you weren't here for this, but Dennis talked about the game Chorus earlier in the episode, and that game is very specifically built around that as part of its gimmick.
Nice. So maybe you have another game to check out.
Yeah. If you want zippy, arcadey space combat, as a part,
Elite is semi. Yeah,
let's do a second job.
Yeah, there's also things like managing your system's heat or your ship's heat is very important. Both in terms of one of the add-ons for your ship is a fuel scoop, where you basically fly into the corona of a sun to collect energetic particles and refill your engine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really important when you're exploring, because they're, my understanding is people that are really into exploring, it could have been like real-time days away from like the nearest port.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So being able to glean fuel off of stars.
Right. As you might imagine, it's also really easy to burn up doing that. The other thing that's kind of funny is the amount of heat your ship is putting out based on what you have it equipped with, what sort of engine you're running, stuff like that determines how close someone needs to be to scan it.
Right.
And so if you're smuggling, you basically, when you're coming into a port to sell your goods and there's cops around, you have to do the thing where, like, you shut off all of your systems and, like, shut off life support and have coast. To land before your 5 minutes of oxygen runs out. That
float
sort of
away
thing.
with the rest of the trash.
Yeah.
That
did you know that line was inserted by Carrie Fisher?
No,
it's a good line.
It's the kind of writer that was not behind Star Wars.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, yeah. So I guess my question is, you mentioned those different those different play styles, combat, exploration, trading, mining, things like that. Does it force you to choose early on, like when you are getting your ship, and which one have you kind of decided to pursue?
So it does not, and this is actually one of my favorite features, is unlike Eve that really emphasizes the economy, my understanding is in high-level play, you can get into, like, I don't know, maybe trying to corner the market or, things like that on trade goods. However, in terms of actual ships and components, everything, except for, I think, a couple of ports that might have, like, their whole thing is like, oh, I have a 10% discount on this. Everything, you basically buy it for a set amount and can sell it back for the same amount it cost. So there is literally, you do have to, if your ship gets destroyed, pay a portion of the cost on insurance. Mm-hmm. But other than that, there is literally, nothing. Like, you could take out a ship, go do some stuff with it, sell it back for full price, and then, buy a different ship if you want.
So you're not locked out. You can always add a port reconfigure.
Right. Exactly.
That sounds nice. Yeah.
The one other thing that I find kind of endearing and just sort of silly is in each of the ports, there's multiple factions. And as you do missions for them, you gain, reputation with that faction and, get access to better missions, that sort of thing. And also, completing the missions basically increases their influence. And so, whichever faction has the most influence, they're the ones who are in charge of that space station. Okay. And that, from what I can tell, the most important effect that has is determines what goods are considered smuggled.
Okay.
So, for example, like you can sell, I think, military-grade weapons freely in a dictatorship, but not in a democracy, because this is in America, apparently.
Right.
But the other thing is there's apparently a mechanic where the factions can be in certain states. So, for example, they can be under attack by pirates, in which case I think that affects, how likely you are to, run into pirates when you're running around the solar system, stuff like that. The thing I find really endearing, though, is each of the factions has a different basically type of politics associated with it, and they're all just very direct. So it's like, oh, the Beetlejuice Social Democratic Party, or like the
you can't say Beetlejuice. You can't make it about Beetlejuice. Sorry. Because I would totally be a part of the Beetlejuice Social Democratic Party.
Hey, it's a planet.
Yeah, okay.
Chaotic liberal.
And or like it's that, or like the Beetlejuice First Party that are the the fascists. And I know, it's just, to me, it's very funny. You'll get get some weird missions. Like I got a courier missions to that was, quote, deliver 2 loads of explosives for democracy.
You have to declare mission accomplished afterwards.
Exactly.
Oof. Nice.
Yep. So honestly, that's about all I've got. It's very much an open world, just kind of dicking around game. But there's a lot to it.
So signing in and out, how does that work? Like you just pop out of existence and pop back in wherever you are, or is there any kind of like Rust style needing to worry about that sort of stuff?
So I think you just pop in and out of existence. I don't 100% know how that works with, like if another player is looking. Mm-hmm. I think part of it is, like I said, it, renders, accurate sized planets and stuff like that. So, for example, if you landed on a planet, the chance of someone finding you is the same chance as, on Earth, if you could find someone just on a random spot of the planet.
Right, right.
And I'm assuming, again, on like space stations, I'm assuming it just like, kind of takes your ship down into the docking bay, or, does something like that. But yeah, I do not know for sure how it works.
Cool. Well, that was one, but it was a big one.
Yeah, that's actually all I've got.
Cool. Sounds like a segment to me.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and then you answer it. Dennis, what is the question that you asked the nice people?
Yeah, and this is actually thanks to Aaron for the question idea. So, Aaron, good question. Which is, what art style would you love to see used or used more often in a video game?
Yeah. And I'll start here with Sean, who says, I really like Square Enix's use of the HD 2D art style for some of their RPGs. I would love a Final Fantasy 4 or 6 remake in this style. I think Sean is referring to things like Octopath Traveler or Triangle Strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of that, extreme depth of field kind of diorama style look. And I agree, it's a neat look. Yes. That would be a nice way to zhuzh up Final Fantasy 4 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or Chrono Trigger, or any of those. Keep the good pixel art look. Yeah. Let's see, David. What does Greg say?
Greg says, I really enjoyed the classic Art Deco style that the Bioshock games use and would like to see them use in more games. It's not that it's a rare style, quote unquote. We see that all the time in other forms of media. But for some reason, though, it's just rare in video games.
Yeah. Kind of predated the resurgence of like mid-century design stuff, by about 10 years even. Or maybe it helped usher that in to a certain degree with a certain set. Anything's possible. Let's see. Ben, what does Callum say?
Callum says, I love the watercolor painting style in Valkyria Chronicles. Would love to see that applied to a more exploration style RPG.
I think Beyond Eyes. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that had that look.
Yeah, that had the watercolor, bleedy color kind of look.
The one I thought of was Okami.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the ink wash, right?
Mm-hmm. It's a good look.
Yeah, there's a new game coming out by the Children of Morta people. I think it's called Ronin that has that Japanese ink wash look to it.
Oh, really?
It is a neat it is a neat look. Agreed. Let's see here, Dennis. What does Case say?
Case says Paper Mario. More studios need to do papercraft art instead of letting it be a Nintendo thing. Wholeheartedly agree, and Tearaway proves this point.
Yeah,
that is an excellent game.
Yeah,
just don't let anything be a Nintendo thing.
It's there for other people to pick up. Yeah,
I'm surprised we haven't seen a papercraft Zelda game. Actually,
that is a little weird. Yeah. That just makes me wish they had gone with that instead of the diorama kind of plasticine model style for the Link's Awakening remake. But
word.
Yeah. Jeremy says, I wish they made more games in the style of Bloodborne. The architecture and the dressing, and the set dressing is amazing. It doesn't need to be a dark or a horror game. Just the Gothic Victorian setting is gorgeous.
That actually would be really interesting to see kind of the Gothic Victorian style not in a horror game.
Yeah, to have it be not in decay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, like, there are real interesting stories that you can read about, like, how the Victorian kind of manor house ended up being, like, our idea of what a spooky house is. Like, the short version of it is like
all the dead people.
Well, all the dead people and the spooky spiders and stuff inside. No, but just like when the economy was good, that coincided with when those styles were in, and a lot of them were built. Then the economy receded, and then all of a sudden they couldn't be kept up. So they laid abandoned or they laid in disrepair. And, it ended up just kind of being associated with unsavoriness. So, like, this formerly ostentatious thing, just a relic of a better time sitting around. Like, that's why the Addams Family was, like, set in those, the original comic strips, right?
So are you saying that in the future we're going to have NFT horror for our timeline?
Well, see, NFTs don't actually exist.
So the thing I'd love to see with that more of is the Southern Gothic, the old plantation houses and stuff like that.
Yeah, the trick is it's impossible to use that without making the story, respectfully about the actual horrors that went on there.
I was going to say, there is horror there independent of the economic situation.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Left 4 Dead 2 did a fairly decent job of it.
Yeah. Finally here, David, what does David say? I swear I didn't do that intentionally.
David says, I love the Octopath Traveler art style and hope to see more and better JRPGs use it. So I'm kind of getting my wish.
Yeah.
Every time I see that, I read it as Osteopath Traveler.
Just going around fixing bones. From town to town.
I also choose to believe that osteopaths are people that, telekinetically can control bones.
Oh, that's cool. I like that as a game jam idea.
No, it's like Mr. Glass is an osteopath.
Oh.
But Octopath Traveler, that's sort of the... I would I would characterize it as it looks like a skilled child, but a child drew it.
No, that's more. So that's along the lines of the kind of the first the first response there, where it is pixel art, but it is in a 3D environment, and they do an awful lot of like post processing to make it look like the pixel art is a 3D object in there,
Okay.
oftentimes with like depth of field kind of stuff going on with it.
Okay, I guess maybe I've only seen the like concept art.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it now. Yeah, I think I've only seen the concept art for Octopath Traveler and assumed that's what the game looks like.
Yeah.
So the way I think, I haven't looked into it too deeply, but it looks like it's a 3D environment and they just use 2D assets for like the characters and move them around. So you get all like the lighting and stuff for free out of the engine you're using.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Paper Mario.
Yeah, pretty much. Real similar idea. Yeah. For me, it is a bit of a shame that so when indie games moved from highlighting pixel art to making games that were more in the low poly PS1 style, they very quickly jumped over kind of my favorite hallmark of the era, which was flat shaded or garage shaded low poly kind of things. Or this is a very specific game, but do you look up the game, or I'll put it in the chat, the game Vib Ribbon. Do you know the game Vib Ribbon?
No, I've never even heard of that.
They use it, so it's monochromatic, it's just black and white, but it is using polygon rendered line segments to mimic the look of vector art.
Oh.
Huh.
So basically what I want is more games that look like Battlezone or look like Star Fox.
Yeah, this entire game looks like a horror game.
Yeah, you're playing as a little bunny. It's like it's almost its own little rhythm game, kind of. It's made by the producer of Parappa the Rapper. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. David, how about you? Art style you'd like to see?
So I think, first thing, like I said, Southern Gothic. The other one, I don't know if this quite counts, but I would really love to see the Dark Souls kind of, epic aesthetic, and, art style and stuff like that, added to more genres. So like the semi-joking one I think I've mentioned before is I would love to see a Soulsborne fishing game.
Okay.
Where you
Don't
had
tempt the Japanese, they will do that.
Yeah, where you had to like catch the I don't know, the 5 great fish in order to challenge the Leviathan to roll back the Infinite Night on your archipelago or something. I don't know, just like the maximalist character and art design and storytelling that they got from Berserk. Applied to much more normal things like racing games or fishing games and stuff like that, I think would be really interesting.
Yeah, agreed. Let's see here. Ben, how about you?
All right, so I realize this is going to be a callback, but I was going to say Manifold Garden. It would be cool to see that art style and other things, even like a horror game, so then you could have fractal horror. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, no, that would work.
I'm surprised fractal horror isn't more of a thing, considering that's very Lovecraftian.
See Thumper.
Yeah. And Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, I don't know what style to call this, but what was called to mind for me was the Into the Spider-Verse style, where it is in a movie form of a comic book, but it still has the like little flashes of words and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think of so many early comic book superhero games that just kind of walked away from that style.
Yeah.
And I would love to see that come back. Like instead of trying to I don't know, show up video gamey, or ape the movies, I would love to see them hew closer to the comics.
Yeah. There was a little bit of a resurgence of this kind of thing in the early 2000s on PS2 and specifically like Xbox and GameCube with cell shading. Along with cell shading, you ended up leaning into more comic aesthetics. So that's when you got the game. It's a game called 13. It's a first-person shooter that people don't really like. There was a racer called Cell Damage that kind of leaned into the very like pop art comic-y style.
13's the one that's getting remade again, right?
13 got a reissue that like it wasn't like a full-on like, you know, current gen remake. It was like, let's update some of the assets and make it so it can run on modern systems.
Yeah, but apparently they're making a reissue that I guess released this year or next year.
Yep, that one I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
But yeah, like literally I'm looking at screenshots of that and it says like bam or blam blam blam, you know, where you have the impact of your bullets. And like that does it for me. I like that.
That's kind of a Borderlands thing too, isn't it?
You know, the art style, yes, but I don't know that they ever cross into integrating text in.
Right.
I'm trying to remember.
I'm just thinking of the way like damage numbers are displayed and stuff.
That might be, yeah, that's fair. But yeah, so I guess the specific piece of it for me is not the comic book art style, but the integration of text into the frames in comic booky ways.
You want it to be automatopoeized. Don't make me spell that for a title. Don't write that down.
Automata personified.
Well, that's just a person. That's a sound.
Yeah.
So like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's a person that's a sound.
Yes.
Tim Allen.
Yeah, there we go. Any others we want to get out of our systems?
We'll just stay out of the 90s for now.
Thank you, folks, for answering. Thank you, Dennis, for posting that. Thank you, Aaron, for I got that right? I closed the window.
Correct.
Yes. Thank you, Aaron, for suggesting the question. If you want to participate in these, like us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/the level podcast. Watch for the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons.
The end, boss.
Now it is time for the Unboss, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games, usually that are exciting to us. We got a couple here that are kind of annoying. Ben, what is Sony trying to pull?
Yeah, well, I don't even know if it was Sony who initiated it, but it's basically what it comes down to is this affects people who are in Austria and Germany, but if they purchased movies by Studio Canal through the PlayStation Store, those are being revoked in the coming months. So Sony announced that. They have not announced any plans to reimburse people for these like movie purchases or whatever. So kind of re-brings up the issue of ownership in our modern times and kind of how you don't actually own stuff that you quote unquote buy. Yeah. So
did they say why they're doing it?
I did not get that from the article that I read about it.
I mean, it's almost certainly like the licensing agreement with whatever the studio is, Studio Canal.
Yeah, disagreements between Studio Canal and PlayStation. Major hit for white people. La La Land got taken off, so that's a bummer.
I've never heard of La La Land.
It's one of those forgettable Oscar bait movies that's kind of, you know, just about the magic of Hollywood. You know, so nobody who doesn't live in, you know, Los Angeles and work in the movie industries cares about it. Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it.
That's a bummer.
Yep, another reason to buy actual things if you want to make sure you own them forever.
Yeah, I mean, I have, you know, there are some things that I don't mind buying a digital copy of or whatever, but like broadly, I do. If I can buy a physical version, I do end up buying it. So like weirdly, I've been building up kind of a DVD collection again, but only of movies I really, really care about. You know?
Yep.
Yeah. That kind of relates to my story that I've brought here. This one relates to what was previously considered to be a safe prospect, which is buying a game on Steam. Usually if a game has been delisted, from the Steam storefront, and this has happened in the past. The game has remained available to anybody who wanted to re-download it. So you would not be able to, buy it or buy DLC for it. But if you say wanted to download it and play it at your own pace, you maybe would have to do so without online services. But it was still there. It was still as much yours as it can be on Steam. However, a rare exception to this has come to the fore, relating to a round of Ubisoft's announced end of lifing of online support for a lot of their games. And the game in particular is a side game of Assassin's Creed Liberation. That's a game that came out around the same time as Assassin's Creed 3 and Black Flag, if I'm not mistaken.
Was it originally a portable?
Yes,
title?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah. So the end of life, pulling support for online features for older games, not necessarily controversial. Unless that game has a really, really active, really active community. Not a lot of people pitch a fit about it. However, when Ubisoft made this announcement, storefronts were updated specifically for Assassin's Creed Liberation, saying, "Hey, we don't care if you already bought this. You are never going to be able to download it again." That's the annoying part. Okay, go ahead.
Now, they've since gone back and said that's not the case. They meant that only online wouldn't be available.
Yeah, so I was going to say that's the annoying part, that the announcement was made that it was going to be pulled off. The good part is that seemingly, according to, in reaction to the very, very loud rejection of this, of this decision, they have moved back on it. But kind of moving back to the annoying side is they tried to pretend that is what they meant all along. Like, oh, we never said, but it was updated on all these storefronts and stuff. And so they're trying to say, as stated in our support article, as opposed to referring to any previous press releases that were made about it. So they're trying to say oh, you guys were overreacting, which is not good.
Gaslighting.
At a corporate scale, don't care for it. Happy that it ended up being the case that anybody who bought this game, if they wanted to play it for some reason, they can still play it. And happy, I guess the win here is that a company responded to public pressure.
Look, it starts with Sonic's teeth. It continues with Liberation, and we'll get where we need to be.
Yeah.
So I very much feel like I would love to see someone make this a law or whatever. If you're going to end of life, you should have to release the server code and stuff like that, so that if people want to, they can stand up their own system.
Yeah. That saved a lot of other stuff. I mean, PS3 Demon Souls was without online support for a very long time, officially, and fan servers popped up. That is the way that things ought to go, to my mind. But
I could see problems with that if it's certain code that they rely upon now, or if it's proprietary. But yeah, they should do that sort of thing in good conscience,
Yeah, it's a best practice thing that I don't know. I have no real opinion about how much it should be regulated at the government level, but it's definitely the right thing to do.
If you're ending support of a game that's so old, it's who cares? Just make it open source. You are admitting at that point that you're done making money off of it. So
yeah. Final story here. Dennis. What's going on with Halo Infinite? I feel like this is the game that has constantly been in the process of releasing.
Yeah,
it doesn't release anything though.
Yeah, they're promising to release. They're constantly in the process of promising to release. So, after how many months has it been? I don't even know. It might as well have been years. Halo was supposed to finally get around to launching test flights, which you had to sign up for and play at specific times of their co-op mode. But we've gotten to the beginning of this week, and they say that it's still not going to launch. So we've gone from, hey, it'll be the week of July 11 to, well, hopefully this week, but not today. And if I was a betting man, I'd be putting money down on, this just isn't happening. I don't know what they did in making Halo Infinite that just broke everything about co-op behind the scenes, but I assume it has to have been something big for it to be so difficult to have a co-op campaign mode.
So a little peek behind the curtain is they've gotten rid of all their seasonal employees. Like they did that towards the beginning of the year. So like now it's just their like core staff or whatever. But it's like, but basically all the people who made Halo Infinite, a large majority of them don't work there anymore.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That was a smart thing to do before their full game was out.
Yeah.
Well, technically they did it right after their full game was out, but same amount of intelligence in either decision, but
just mind-boggling. Yeah. And especially because, and I don't want to make assumptions about, you were able to do it last game, why aren't you able to do it this game? But co-op has been a staple of Halo from the beginning. And that they're having this much trouble with it ongoing does not bode well. The format of Halo Infinite is much more open world, or slash is open world instead of distinct levels. But it just feels more and more like the sacrifice that they made to get that has broken so many other things about the game. Specifically re-co-op, that it just feels like it wasn't worth it. Especially
kind of like open world in Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Hey, come on.
Sorry.
But I think so many people are going to play Halo Infinite. I know I did, as like effectively a series of missions. Like I wanted to see the best of what they had to offer. I wanted to see the set pieces. I went straight from big mission to big mission. I don't know what they added through open world, and I am seeing more and more clearly all the time the things that they are losing. So I hope that we will get the launch of co-op this week, and I will be curious about it. There's people that I'd love to play through the co-op campaign with. I think that'd be fun. But at this point it's just like we should go back and play the old campaigns. Like this is not worth hanging your hopes on.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
The other thing that's messed up about this is like this is a company that's backed by Microsoft, so it's like you don't need to have these like kind of shitty practices of like firing your staff, or having temporary staff rather.
Yeah.
And then also like part of that's to get around like the Washington where it's like you can't employ people for a certain amount of time before you need to start giving them like health insurance.
Fucking
and stuff.
contractor laws. God.
Yeah. It's like
I hate it.
Product of them. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's you're preaching the choir, bud.
But yeah, so I want to play co-op Halo. I want this to happen, but it's just we'll see. I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah. Well, David, did you have a story?
Nope.
All right. Attaboy. Let's how do you all feel about buttoning it up?
I mean, we should say something mildly positive since we kind of had three bummers of stories.
This week is National NB Awareness Week.
Oh. Yeah.
That's good to know.
Happy National NB Awareness Week to everybody who identifies as non-binary.
So this is the week where all the non-binary people get negatives to their sneak checks because everyone's aware of them, right?
Oh man,
I definitely stole that joke.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, no, but it's that is positive. It is super cool to see slowly but surely gender stuff getting a little bit more nuance in the popular mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do you all feel about buttoning it up?
Let us button.
The credits.
Thank you so much for listening to Level 421. Thank you for understanding us taking a little break last week. We appreciate you being here. If you want to help us out, you know what to do. Ratings, reviews, Patreon, Facebook, things of that nature. And if you would like to see Dennis, what's going on with Deca Wonders, and what is your where can people see you showing it off next?
Yeah, I'll be at Gen Con. So come to Gen Con, come say hi. I am still finalizing details on what booth I'm going to be in, but I will be there.
Cool.
And I potentially will be demoing a prototype of my next game from Deck of Wonders. So that will be exciting. So yeah, hit me up on Twitter. We'll share that in a second if you're going to be there, and we will meet up.
Cool. Let's see here. And then Jala, there has been a slight break in their recording schedule for Jala Chan's Place. The most recent episode is on performance and identity. And I know that that's going to be picking back up, but you can just go to jalachan.com or jalas.place. Just go to jalachan.com because I don't know the vanity URL for it. For her podcast that she does with a rotating crew of folks. I think that is there anything I'm forgetting that's big?
No, I don't think so.
All right. I've been Kole Ross. You can see me stream. I've resumed streaming again. That is over at twitch.tv/Duckfeed.tv.
Yeah, I've been Dennis Furia. You can find me on Twitter at Deck of Wonders with underscores between the words.
I've been David Maysmith. Yeah, just David.
I've been Ben Merkel with underscore between the words.
And stick around for some titles.
It's a title heavy week.
Oh, what you got?
Oh man, so many. I will nah, screw it. I'm not going to self edit. I will just read all of that I wrote down.
Okay.
From early on, Killing Sticks.
Okay.
Chorves. Can't Swing Across That Ocean. Sounds like a country song to me.
Was this talking about the Spider-Man game?
Yes.
Or a xenophobic sex club.
Yeah. You're on fire this week, Ben.
In keeping with
That's
that,
my xenophobic sex club, Kole.
the 5 Nights at Freddy Mercury's.
Yes. Yeah.
As well as Wolverine Miles Morales. Wolverine, Miles Morales.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The thing that always terrified me about Miles Morales is if Spider-Man can do anything a spider can, that means there's some spider that can turn invisible and electrocute.
Yeah. Only while you're sleeping, though, and that's it's one of the ones that crawls into your mouth to get eaten.
Yeah.
So then, Osteopath Traveler, which I found out through Wikipedia that an osteopath is someone who claims to practice osteopathy, which is apparently like a quack medicine of manipulating bones to cure ailments.
Yeah, it's a weird thing in that it's that, but you also have 4 medical school, so most of them are also decent doctors.
Weird. Huh.
Yeah. And then, of course, Automata Personified. ONOMOPERSONIFIED.
DIS.
That's your first option. Your next option is no.
So I had 2 that you had. I had Killing Sticks and 5 Nights at Freddy Mercury's. Yeah. So just throw my votes on those. Ben, what you got?
I didn't write anything down. I was going to come up with something if I had to, but Dennis got so many.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing.
You got nothing? Okay. How do we feel about 5 Nights at Freddy Mercury's? Because that was a banger of a line.
That.
It has to be.
That
it has to be.
Yeah.
That's right up there with In Space No One Can Hear You Jam.
It's real good.
Can I vent one more thing?
One more thing here. It is decided.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Oh.
Okay.